So Glenn, do you want to talk about what you do and introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Glenn Walford and I've got two brands, Magnetic Business Media and Franchise Buyer. Magnetic Business Media is a content marketing business, mainly in video production. You've seen me out and about doing stuff. And Franchise Buyer is a database and an information resource and website for people who are interested in getting into franchising, and we help franchisors and potential franchise owners come together.
Now we get along very well because you do what we do, which is we create a lot of video content for business, and we know how important it is. I know the same challenges though in trying to convince, or not convince, but like we know how it's impacted us and you know what it can do for businesses. So maybe you want to talk about your thoughts about content production and how it's actually really an easy thing to do, and it's a lot more affordable than what people think.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I see you doing a lot of stuff out there, and the key is, and we're both disciples of it, which is creating long-form content, cutting it up and doing stuff with it. And many brands think it's really hard to do. It's really not. It's about just putting in some effort and having a little bit of desire to get it done. And I think a lot of brands just get a bit overwhelmed by all their challenges. If they just grabbed their bloody phone out and just went and interviewed someone, like we could do it right now and create hours and hours of content just interviewing people at stands. I walk around this expo and talk to franchise brands, and we talk about how frustrating it is at times. I invite brands to say, we'll do a video with you, we'll give it to you, and you can promote yourself and we'll talk to you and everything. 50% don't bother. 50% don't want to do it. I don't know whether it's fear. I don't know. What do you think? You reckon it's fear or reluctance?
A little bit of fear. I don't know what to say, but that's the key on the production company or the interviewer to really drag it out of you and film in a way that it's not so like a camera in your face and staring down the like
to make them comfortable.
To make them comfortable, right? Like we're doing now, we're talking on the side. Yeah. But also the thing as well, what we were talking about yesterday, which I thought was really good to get across, is like with franchising, it's not an inquire that you're going to be a franchisee the next week. Yeah. It might be a 6 to 12 month investigation process, and you've got to have that constant flow. You've got to have a YouTube channel with resources on there for them to watch and consume. So they're investing 50 grand, 200 grand or 300 grand into your business. They want to know everything about you, hopefully, before they come on board.
And I think I've always used the phrase, and I've said it to you before, I think that franchisors are addicted to leads. You know, how many leads am I going to get? They don't want to know how many leads they're going to get. They lack patience. They lack patience. They don't have enough patience to build a brand story, and build a brand story that's specific around their franchise opportunity. They just think that they're going to put a poster up or put a banner up, put a listing up, and leads are going to fall into their inbox. It just doesn't work like that. You know that anymore. That there's no content, there's no storytelling. There are so many brands out there that don't have a TikTok handle. You know, they do nothing on Instagram. They just got no. We know that brands are building social. There's so much time that people are spending on social. They're consuming information in total different ways than they were 2 years ago than they are, prior to that and now. And they just don't put enough effort, enough time into it.
Because what we do, you can do for businesses. So they can come to you and say, right, I want to film an interview with the founder for 60 minutes, and you can chop it up and you can claim all those handles from on Instagram, TikTok and that, and distribute that content. Yeah. And then as someone looks at it, that's going to come up in their feed and hopefully more of a warm inquiry than just, as you said, we're going to do this one video and we want 50 leads, we're going to have to get a sale out of that one video. It's not going to
work like that.
Exactly.
And it's that lack of patience that's going to cost them in the future. I mean, more and more, some of these more established brands now who just won't get on board this, we look at a lot, I know you look at a lot of people's social profiles who don't, and it's not even about likes or followers, it doesn't matter, but have no content on them. They're not creating anything. That's the issue. People have been coming to me here today say, what brands do you think we should invest in? And I've changed my tune now. I'd say that I'd first start looking at their social channels and see what they're doing. If they're not active in social at all, if they're not communicating, storytelling, then they're not going to do that for you to encourage customers to come to your business. So use that as the first guide now, where previously you wouldn't have bothered worrying about that. It's largely irrelevant. But brands who don't get on social and don't get active and don't tell their story over and over and over and over will become irrelevant.
It's great advice, I completely agree with you. And like we're both in the same tune, we get along to we follow the Gary Vaynerchuk school of thought.
Oh yeah, love Gary.
The same thing, but just from your perception, this is not a plug or anything on the spot, but what's your perception of gyms in general from an outsider looking in? Because you've been in the industry for a long time.
Yeah, my perception's changed in 2 years, and I think it's probably largely because of you. I think in many ways, your social content. I think gyms, the way that you're doing with your social content now is you look transparent, which I think is absolutely crucial for anyone looking to get into any franchise. You're not afraid to talk about the things that many franchisors find confronting and that maybe they want to hide or not talk about. But the problem is all those things are being talked about anyway, you just don't know about it. Yeah. Where I think what you're doing from a gym's perspective, you're helping that engagement, that conversation move forward. And I think what you're doing in social is just making people more comfortable to get into business with you, or at least making people comfortable to have a chat with you about getting into business.
And you said the key there about the industry itself. So the poor franchising industry, I think, just from someone who's been in there a little bit now, when there's a bad story, it just gets amplified. It gets a lot of clicks online, and that was the key, transparency. Like, with your systems, everyone hides it. They hide it until, give us your details, then we're going to tell you everything. It's not online. Whereas we've just gone, put it all online. You make your own assessment, good, bad, or indifferent. And the stuff we put out online, it's not stuff that's sometimes flattering. We put out a failure rate online. Jim says flatly how many of our franchisees fail, which not many people will do, right? So you're spot on. And in this industry, we need to be more transparent, because I think a lot of people, you'd know from working with different brands, is it's very, very hidden until you give us the details, and then it's
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, we do a lot of lists on what we see in the marketplace for different niches and everything. I do an assessment of a whole bunch of brand, what their opportunity presentation looks like to just a general person searching them online. And it's stunning how many brands have got this. You've got to jump through a few hoops in order to find out anything about them. They'll have a form and a motherhood statement at the top, like, be your own boss, we're awesome. Like, well, I don't know if you're awesome. You're showing me no proof. You're not showing me a video. There's no statement. There's no testimonial. There's no evidence whatsoever to back that statement up. Oh, but give us your details and all this following stuff about me, and then we'll be prepared to have a chat with you. That's stupid.
I agree.
It just doesn't work. So I see it all the time. It happens every day. Small brands, large brands, medium brands, they all do it, and they need to get away from it.
Now, where do you see the industry's going in 2023 and beyond? Where do you see franchising going?
Well, it'll always be as it is now. I think what will happen is you'll start to see a change of the guard. I think you'll start to see challenger brands, young, new, fresh, vibrant, with momentum challenger brands start to come through and really start to pick away at the carcass of some of these older brands, because that's what it looks like if they're not going to get involved in the conversation online, if they're not going to present themselves. Too many of them will still continue to hold back. They just won't adapt, they won't change. And these newer, younger brands will just start to take market share from them at an ever alarming and increasing rate, and they'll do it faster than they ever have before. These brands that have got these enormous location numbers will find that their market share will start to drop fairly rapidly when these smaller brands just leverage social so well. They'll just start taking customer market share off them.
And what do you think the three best form, or let's say someone's like, right, I want to get you involved, Glenn, what would you say gives them the best bang for the buck in terms of content production type? Is it a podcast, or is it going to be testimonials? What do you think works the best? Or what do you think to get them started is the best way for them to go?
I jump in and, well, we're doing it like you're doing it, we're doing a podcast. I just jump in to do a podcast. It is the most transparent and disarming way to communicate a message. We've done about 5 of them here this weekend. We just did one with a franchise owner from Pack and Send, and just sat down with him and said, tell us your story. How did you get into it? It's disarming, it's humble. They're just telling their story. You're the same disciple of it. 25-minute podcast, cut it up into 10 or 15 parts. They can go and watch the whole story and learn more about that person in a full, transparent kind of way, or they get little snippets and taste for it, which on other social channels that can direct them to that main story.
Yep.
And that's the model. It's not rocket science, is it? It's
absolutely. And you can repurpose
simple.
that content for years. Like we've done podcasts 4 years ago, which we're going back to now, making the blogs and Twitter threads and all that
Yeah,
sort of
I've
stuff
seen
as
all
well.
of those. I like them.
And we can do it. But I was going to say, if someone wants to learn more about you and what you do, where can they go and find you?
franchisebuyer.com.au or magneticbusinessmedia.com.au. That's franchise lead generation or content creation. Either or, we don't care. We love it all. We enjoy it. I know you enjoy it as well. So, we really enjoy it. Thanks for the opportunity, mate.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Pleasure,
Thanks,
job.
mate. No worries.
Mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.